This is Dr. Kavita, Assistant Professor of English, PV Vaniperumal College for Women, Virudhunagar. In this video, we are going to know about a poem written by David Roth, and this is the name of the poem, 9 Gold Medals. David Roth, he is an American essayist and a poet, and this poem is about the 9 differently abled athletes in a special Olympic event in the year 1976. This poem tells about the true sportsmanship and compassion to us. The poem begins like this. The athletes had come from all over the country to run for the gold, for the silver and bronze. Many weeks and months of training, all coming down to these games. This is the first stanza of the poem. Let me tell the meaning for this stanza. The athletes means people, those who take part in the running race. They had come from all over the country. Actually, the participants, they were from different parts of the country, parts of the world, and in order to take part in this running race. And everyone, they had a dream to bag the gold medal or silver or the bronze. And in order to attain that, they took training, nearly many months and weeks they took. And all coming down to these games. Now the moment had come for them to prove their talents, to prove themselves. Next stanza. The spectators gathered around the old field to cheer all the young women and men. The final event of the day was approaching. Excitement grew high to begin. Now, the spectator means onlookers. The spectators, the onlookers, the people, those who wanted to watch the games, they gathered the old field in order to encourage all the participants, those who were young women and men. And the final event of the day was approaching. Finally, the day had come for the final event. And excitement grew high to begin. Everyone, both the participants and the spectator, they were full of excitement and they were eagerly waiting for the game to begin. Now the next stanza. The blocks were all lined up for those who would use them. The 100-yard dash and the race to be run. These were 9 resolved athletes in the back of the starting line, poised for the sound of the gun. Now the blocks were all lined up for those who would use them. All the 9 participants, they were eagerly waiting for the game to begin, and they were standing behind their starting line, and they are ready to take part in this 100-meter running race. And the race to be run, these were 9 resolved. Resolved means determined. All the 9 determined athletes, they are standing behind the back of the starting line. And poised means they were eagerly waiting. Poised for the sound of the gun. They were eagerly waiting for the gun sound to begin the race. Then the signal was given, the pistol exploded, and so did the runners, all charging ahead. But the smallest among them, he stumbled and staggered and fell to the asphalt instead. The signal was given, that means the gun sound was given, the gun burst into a sound, the pistol exploded, and so did the runners, all charging ahead. All the runners, they started their running race. But the smallest among them, among the athletes, the smallest one, he just stumbled. Stumbled means flipped, and staggered means walk unsteadily. Suddenly something had happened to the small athlete. He couldn't run. Suddenly he flipped and he staggered. He was unable to walk. He fell down on the ground. Then he gave out a cry in frustration and anguish. His dreams and his efforts all dashed in the dirt. But as sure as I am standing here telling this story, the same goes for what next occurred. He gave out a cry in frustration and anguish. The moment the smallest athlete, he fell down on the ground. The moment he fell, he knew that his dreams and his efforts were dusted. And the game did not end there. The narrator, he says that something strange occurred in that day. The 8 other runners pulled up on their heels. The one who was trained for so long to compete, one by one, they all turned around and went back to help him and brought the young boy to his feet. The 8 other runners, on seeing the youngest one fell down, they just stopped on their heels. And the ones who were trained for so long to compete, actually they were waiting for this day to prove themselves, to compete others. One by one, they all turned around and went to help him. One by one, the athletes, they turned around and they went to help the smallest one who fell on the ground. And they managed the young one to stood on his feet. Then all the 9 runners joined hands and continued. The 100-yard dash now reduced to a walk, and a banner over that said special games could not have been more on the mark. Now then all the 9 runners, they joined, they held their hands together and they continued the race. Now this 100-meter dash has become not a running race, now it become a walk. And the banner above that said special game. Now they were started running together, holding their hands together. Behind the banner said special games. This is how the race ended with 9 gold medals. They came to the finish line holding hands still, and a standing ovation and 9 beam faces said more than these words ever will. Now the race has ended, and all the 9 athletes were given gold medals. That means they were considered as winners in that event. And with holding hands, they finished, they touched the ending line. And people, the spectators, they just responded with a standing ovation to all the 9 athletes. And all the 9 athletes, they had a beaming faces. Actually, their faces said more than any words could say. Now, the message of the poem is, this story illustrates the remarkable power of unity, compassion, and sportsmanship. These athletes showed that sometimes winning together is the true story. The story reminds us that human spirit shines better in moment of empathy. Thank you.